Hi, my name's Dave Goulding. I'm an Emergency Preparedness lead within Abdominal Medicine and Surgery at Leeds Teaching Hospitals Trust, and we're here at Weetwood Hall Hotel speaking to Stevie Ward about men's mental health and wellbeing.
I'm Stevie Ward, ex-Leeds Rhinos professional rugby league player and captain and founder of Mantality. Buzzing to be here.
Thanks very much, mate. We've been speaking for a couple of months now just about men's mental health and your sort of Mantality programme, and as I've mentioned to you before, we have just launched our men's mental health and wellbeing network or group. We've not even got a name yet. That is something that's to evolve, I suppose, from the group. We've had 2 meetings now, and we've got a big launch on Wednesday, the 1st of December. So, we're here today. For me personally, I'm really passionate about men's mental health and well-being and looking after myself and being in the best condition I can be. And I know that your programme has gone really well. How did that sort of all start, really?
Mate, I've had a massive journey. I'm only 27, almost turning 28. But my career as a rugby league player was, I went from the complete opposite ends of the spectrum all the time. You know, it was mixed up with winning trophies at 18-year-old, playing at Wembley, Old Trafford, playing next to my childhood heroes, Kevin Sinfield, Jamie Peacock, Danny Maguire, Rob Burrow. I sort of lived the dream at one point. And I had this meteoric rise. If you imagine like the journey being a straight upward line on a graph, that was what my journey was in those early years. And then I had an injury, which, you know, was part of the game. It's just, I took that as yin and yang for the job and the career that I was in. But I visited both sides of that spectrum a lot of the time. I was in a pain a lot. I was struggled with injury, and more, I think because I had those episodes, I struggled mentally. And when I struggled mentally, I'd got on with it at one point, but then it came another time where I felt like I had to do something.
Right.
And it was an invitation, it was a challenge to look at men's mental health. And for what is 5 years ago, it was a massive elephant in the room.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've progressed so much now, and we're talking about it. There's an appetite for it from what you guys are saying and the stuff that you guys do. There's an appetite for it, and I just felt at that point, at 22 years old, that I needed to do something different. It wasn't just about getting right physically and getting back on the pitch. It was about doing the work on my own mental health and understanding it, addressing it, and then working on it. And I guess that's why we're here today now, you know, and I'm so passionate about doing it. And me having this brain injury now, which I've had to retire from 2020.
That must be.
Yeah.
I mean, as you know, as we've talked about, obviously, I've played rugby, amateur rugby for many years, obviously not to your standard. What gets me is when you're playing for a successful club, or probably the most successful club in the Super League area, like Leeds Rhinos, at such a young age, how do you deal with those injuries and how the injuries affect, you know, your own mental health and well-being? How did you deal with those at such a young age?
I mean, there's no easy answer because it's hard. You know, life's hard, and that certainly was an hard moment for me.
Yeah.
But because I'd done the work over the last 5 years, I feel like I'd buffered the hardest stuff that you could imagine.
Yeah.
I've done the work. I've sort of understood my own resilience, understood how to cultivate positive states of emotion and to have a zoomed out perspective on life as well. And that's been work and stuff that I've had to put in. So for when it's come to this moment where I've had to have a brain injury, which I could never have imagined having it. Like if you said to me, I'm going to have a brain injury for 2 years and I'm going to have to retire as a Leeds Rhinos captain in my prime, it's a killer, that.
And what effect, you know, did that have on your close family and friends as well? I mean, that's, you know, it affects not just yourself, there's other people close to you that it affects as well.
Everyone around me. So I didn't just have the concussion, the brain injury. I had the bereavement, I had the grief of losing who I was in that
identity.
Identity gone, challenge after challenge, and then it came to a brain injury stopping me playing. So I think I went through bereavement, denial, anger, depression, the bargaining and acceptance, and I still go through that now. But my family, we've just done a documentary with Sky Sports, and it was such an hard watching it back, because my partner Natalie, it was such a struggle through 2020 when everyone was going through COVID and didn't understand what was going on. I had this brain injury and I had no idea what was going on with my brain, and the whole situation in life. So we had to manage that.
Yeah.
My mum was really worried. My mum thought that I was going into an abyss that I might not come back out of.
I've seen the clip on Instagram this morning. It's
I feel so exposed doing it. And inviting the cameras in to follow the journey and speak to my mum, speak to my partner, speak to my dad. And it shows me a place where I don't know where the answers are, And I think as we're talking about the appetite now, where you guys are doing something so special, there's a tipping point where men are going to start to confront mental health, and they're going to start working on it, because we've got such an issue, as you know, for men and discussing it and talking about it. We need to make it accessible. We need to give entry points to it. And that's where Mantality comes in for me, to break away the stigma, so we can really work on the important stuff.
So, just for context, when you talk about identity and losing your identity, just how long had you been at Leeds Rhinos when you were a kid? When did you sort of sign for them?
12 years old.
12 years old.
I signed the scholarship at 12 years old. I went into the training ground.
So that were all you knew?
That's all I knew. Yeah. That's all I knew. And I've had to deal with it, and I've had to deal with dropping back from teammates, the lifestyle of it, the mission that you had every week, and I've had to recalibrate. But
even while you were playing and through first couple of injuries, there weren't just head injuries. There were shoulder injuries, knee injuries. Is that where you thought Mantality should come from? You started thinking about your own mental health with those, and that's how it grew?
Yeah. Initially, I was struggling, and I saw an omission of people that didn't want to deal with it, didn't want to talk about it, and it was like the elephant in the room. Mm-hmm. So initially, when I launched Mantality, it was launch myself into a discovery, really, of what we can find out about it. If we include everything about being a human being, it's how far can we go? Instead of being scared to touch certain points, being scared to talk about stuff, if we can fully accept, as we are, human beings, mental health, warts and all, where can we go? And the magic bit about it is when we are vulnerable, and when we open up to that side of life, and to have honest conversations, to drop the barriers between each other, to speak about how we all honestly feel, and openly tell people where we're at, it doesn't just lead to a happier and more fulfilled life, but it leads to more success. And together. And the success means stuff that, as I've gone on the journey, I've understood values, I've understood resilience, I've understood how men work together, how teams work together. And the most special wins that we've ever had have had the pre-context of vulnerability and openness and creating those connections with each other.
And I think that's why I specifically sort of reached out to you via our friend Steve here at Wheatwood Hall, working for the NHS through a pandemic, something that we'd never seen before, hopefully never see in his lifetime again, has left an amazing workforce of doctors, nurses, admin, porters, extremely exhausted. And for me, I thought, if I liken it to a successful Leeds Rhinos team, I can see, people struggling with their own mental health and resilience and vulnerability. And if you can get a group or of macho rugby league guys who play, ultimately a collision sport to get to talk about how they feel, surely I, and with some of the men that work at Leeds Teaching Hospital, we can get to start talking about how we're feeling and showing that, that vulnerable side. Although, I think I said to you before, one of the drivers for this, I have been said that, potentially medics are hardwired to not talk about how they're feeling, but surely rugby league players are hardwired as well.
Yeah, conditioned, mate. All through my life, conditioned to just go through pain, not complain about it, not talk about the tough stuff because you've got a job to do.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure there's so many similarities there. And I remember 2017 was the year that openness, that vulnerability, and that desire to talk about mental health and work on it really sort of came to light for me. 2017, we had such a bad year. 2016, so bad. You'll remember it, mate.
Bad.
It was cataclysmically bad.
Yeah.
And
finished just above relegation type stuff.
Just avoided relegation. In 2017, I can remember we went on a pre-season camp, and it wasn't to Florida like we've been before. It was in North Yorkshire, youth hostel. And I remember Brian McDermott had asked 8 players to speak. He didn't say what to speak about. He just said, stand up in front of the room and speak. So that's scary for anyone. That's really scary for anyone. But the 5 of the 8 players, they spoke about the struggles. They spoke about what they'd been through that year before, personally, on the field. They spoke about their fluctuations in mental health, the tough times. And as we went on throughout that year, we were beating everyone.
Yeah.
We came closer together. We played a type of game that would beat any game plan. And 2017, back end of the year, the grand final. One team that we didn't beat, David, you'll remember, is Cass, right? We got a towel in from Cass 4 times that year.
We got a big towel in at the beginning of the year.
A massive one. I think it would buy 50 points.
Yeah.
And we're getting to the grand final. We're playing a team that we've never beat before. We're not beaten for about 10, 12 times before that, actually. And the theme of vulnerability, the theme of openness, the theme of knowing what to expect from each other, went right through to the night before the grand final. And usually you might get a motivational speaker to come in. You might get someone who's been there and done it before to come and speak. But Brian McDermott stood in front of the team and just said, I ain't got anything for you lads. It's got to come from you guys. It's got to come from you guys in the room. And after a bit of silence, every player stood up and spoke about why they wanted to win that game, involving everything that they'd been through, the whole reason behind 2016, the tough times. Danny Maguire got up and spoke. Rob Burrow got up and spoke. I got up and spoke. And once we left that meeting room, we knew we were going to win the next day. We just knew it. Because any game plan, any tactic, any classy Cass attacking game plan, right? It wouldn't stand to the test in a grand final in Old Trafford that we knew where the pressure came from. And you've got to find something. You've got to find something from somewhere. And we knew where that was.
And that came from 17 blokes talking about how they felt.
Exactly. And once I've started looking into this and started seeing the differences, seeing the benefits from it, I can't go away from it. I know the importance of it. And I know the effect that it can have, where you've got a band of brothers basically that fully accept life and fully deal with what they're scared to have been dealing with before, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. And then I suppose you've taken it like beyond that now with some amazing podcasts that I've listened to. Alistair Brownlee.
Yeah. Gareth Timmins, Jason Fox.
Yeah. Paul Fox,
Fox, your mate.
Yeah, our mutual friend.
Yeah.
We've got to mention Paul.
Yeah. We'll send it after him to him. He'll love it.
Some brilliant podcasts.
Yeah.
Where did that idea come from?
Oh mate, I was so lucky to start a podcast before I stopped playing, because it was something that I did that almost replaces that game day. Do you know that getting in the conversations with these people, and you're so in the zone, you just love speaking to them, you love learning from them, understanding where they're coming from, seeing similarities, seeing differences. And the podcast has just gone from strength to strength, and we've had people come on where I think they've gone, this isn't a normal interview, this is this is a Mantality interview, and this is basically I need to find something for it. But the people that have come on there have been so honest, so open, and I think it just gives guys the comfort to know that they're not alone.
Yeah.
You know, to know that they're not alone thinking and feeling the way that they are. And there's a template there.
And you've had people on from the NHS as well, haven't you?
Yeah. Joseph Faulkner,
yeah.
We've had doctors, we've had psychiatrists, we've had sports psychologists. We've had Wim Hof on. We've had all these people that are all on the same path towards just helping us be better humans, I think. And Evolve is the program, I guess, that's come from all of these years of speaking to these people, all of these years where I've not had the answers and I've found the answers again, or I've been confused, I've been depressed, I've been anxious, I've been victorious. All of these things, all these emotions, experiences, that's what I've thrown into Evolve. And there's a framework, there's a template to help people to get to a resilient and fulfilled state, you know.
And I think that's something that, we've spoke about in his previous chats about, there's definitely a link up there that we can, that I definitely want to help the men of Leeds Teaching Hospitals, just if they're looking for programmes to follow outside of work, then I think that Evolve and Leeds Teaching Hospitals could be a great link up, because I think, as I've said to you before, a third of our workforce at the hospital are male, coming from surgery, nursing, admin, building porters.
Yeah.
And that Evolve programme is open to everybody, is it? And you've mentioned before there's a women's programme as well, so it's not, although we're talking men's mental health today, it's open to everybody.
I think a lot of women do connect with the messaging, connect with the brand, they connect with how you're in a community that's supported through the journey as well. That's one of the biggest and most important factors, that you've got people that are going through it with you, sharing the journey with you, laying those foundations of resilience, motivation, understanding how to implement habits, understanding what purposes, understanding your values and how to act them out in the world. And you have these conversations, you have these check-ins with each other. I'm telling you, it's like, it's magic. Once you go through that fear, once you go through that nervous excitement, or that voice telling you not to do it, why do you need to do it, you're not going to get anything. Once you go through it, it's magic. And that's where you get the results. That's where you get the results like we had in 2017. That's where you get the results where you feel accepting of what you're going through and what you can become, if that makes sense. Yeah.
So you talk about in your early 20s working on your own mental health.
Yeah.
What did you work on? What did you do? What stuff was out there to help you?
Mate, it was a self-discovery. It was a real sort of journey of self-discovery for me. As I was working it out for everyone, working out for myself, and I put some understanding around values.
Yeah.
So understood my own values, understood the actions that I had to do from those values when I wasn't playing rugby, when I wasn't training, when I was on crutches. I needed something that my values could be carried out in the world with. So understanding the values, understanding the behaviours that come from them. I tried meditation, played around with meditation, different breath works to bring me into a sort of calmer state, kick me into the parasympathetic nervous system. It was a lot of sort of like understanding my why You know, it's like the secret weapon to come back to your why, to focus on the motivation for why you're doing what you're doing. When everything gets muddied up, when everything gets like foggy because of stress, anxiety, before games, that'd be my secret weapon. When we're struggling, I'd get down to my why and I'd understand it for why I played rugby, you know, why I wanted to break through a line, why I wanted to score a try, why I wanted to make the most tackles. And I'd unearth it, I'd sort of uncover it for why that motivation is so strong. And that helped get me through those tough and dark times.
Do you think that obviously makes you a better player, but also, you know, you can live your life better now?
Yeah, 100%. You're just becoming more aware and more conscious of what drives you, and then you're building your life around what drives you too. So that helps with stress, that helps with resilience. But I'd step onto a field and I'd have that extra like motivation because I'd done the work.
Yeah.
I'd unearthed my sort of focus for motivation and I'd go out.
You hear that quite a lot from sort of like what you'd call the players at the pinnacle. JP, Kev, Rob, Danny, all those players were, you know, they'd talk about that extra, they talk about the extra edge.
Yeah.
You were in there with that.
When you get to playoff games and you've got a room full of men that understand why they are there, why they're going to win, and why the other team doesn't have that edge, it's a good place to be. It's a really good place to be. And I guess it came to a stage where I just kept getting held back, kept getting injured. Kept getting injured. So I had to work on myself. I couldn't just rely on that rugby player anymore. I couldn't just rely on being able to do that. I had to understand what fulfilment was for me and what my motivation was for those times too. And then you go into building habits, you go into training your mind with gratitude, meditation, which is a habit that I do every day, and it's something that I've had to do every day since retiring. Because I think if I'd not been doing those, I'd be a different bloke right now. I probably wouldn't be sat here speaking to you.
So your brain injury, how's that affected you? How's that affecting you now? How did it affect you when you retired? You know, where are you at, if you don't mind sort of like telling us a little bit about that?
So I'm still struggling with it every day. Just as bad, I think, as the first few months. It's not linear, brain injury, so you think you're getting better and then you go back down and, you know, I take myself to the limit in everything. When I played, I took myself to the limit, and now I feel like I'm taking myself to the limit in this injury for how I'm dealing with it. And it's migraines, it's dizziness all the time. I struggle to walk for longer than 40 minutes because I get too dizzy and disorientated. I get vertigo, sensitive to light, to noise. I can't exercise. I'm not exercising at all now. The only way I exercise I do is walking. So yeah, it's still pulling myself through life despite all of that I'm struggling with, which I take pride in as well, you know. And I guess I'm at a point now where I'm going away. I'm going away for 6 months, and there's a treatment that's across the pond that I believe in.
Right.
And I'm hoping it's going to work. I'm hoping it's going to help me.
So it's going to be a bit of discovery then as well?
Yeah, a bit more of that. A bit more discovery, a bit more of and working out. But I feel like I did when I was 12 years old, when I came into the Rhinos, starting that chapter. I feel like I'm at that point now for where I am in terms of going for this treatment and spending time over there and trying to come back to a healthier brain.
Well, I mean, every time we've met, I can honestly say that you've been like really, really positive about everything that's gone on and is still going on. I mean, I think you're really inspirational with your programme, and I hope that we at Leeds Teaching Hospitals can have a programme that's just as good as yours. So thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thank
you. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.